Hello, my friends and dreamers. I asked you all if you wanted to see more astrology content, and you all spoke loud and clear saying, yes, Maya, we want new astrology content for you, and I am so honored. So here we are today with a brand new video on the North Node sign versus the North Node house, and how we can all balance both of these factors in our chart and really harness them for maximal alignment and empowerment and a sense of really being on purpose in our lives. And I'm starting with this video today because this is probably the most requested astrology video that I get. And, just people keep asking me, especially all of you truly beautiful souls with the Libra ascendant, like, what do I do? Maybe you have the Scorpio North Node, but it's falling in the second house or something. And maybe you think, what am I going to do? Because these are two opposing energies. How can I, work on my North Node sign and my North Node house at the same time? It's too much, which sign is most important? So a lot of people are really confused. And what I want you all to know is it's actually not anywhere near as confusing or overwhelming as it actually seems. Now, I think in general, I do love the astrology community here on YouTube, but I think in general that some astrologers, myself included, may have actually contributed to perpetuating some confusion around the differentiation between the North Node sign and house. And I think that we've done this unintentionally by a lot of times titling videos things like North Node in Aries / first house, or your North Node in Pisces, or the 12th house, and when we see titles like this, we start to think, well, that must be the same thing, having the Pisces North Node must be the same thing as having the 12th house North Node. But is it really? Well, the answer is not exactly. No, it's not. So before we jump into what makes these two factors different and how you can balance them, I just need to disclose that I use the amazing whole sign house system of astrology, and I encourage you all to do the same when you're calculating your North Node house. Give it a try in the whole sign house system, all right? Okay, anyway, I'll link below a video on how to generate your chart in the whole sign house system if you're curious. Let's start by talking about the North Node sign. So if you, for some reason, just stumbled upon this little audio presentation today and you don't know what the North Node sign is, basically the North Node in astrology is a point that is calculated based on the moon, which indicates a soul's growth in this lifetime, essentially. The North Node is often affiliated with our destiny. And so many people walk around, so many beautiful people walk around in this world, and they're kind of like constantly asking in their energy field, what's my purpose? What's my purpose? What's my purpose? Why am I here? Astrologically speaking, the North Node is one of the big indications of purpose. It says, look here, here's what you're meant to develop in this lifetime. Here's why you came down to Earth, here's the energy that you wanted to play with and you wanted to bring out from within your own being as a way to come to know creation more fully. Here's your exploration for this lifetime. And most of us are born into the energy of our South Node, okay? And if you believe in past lives, and again, full disclosure, you guys, I'm a big believer. I'm a big believer, okay? Okay, so I'm just saying. So if you believe in past lives, then your South Node would have been like the energy that you were working to come to embody and represent in your prior lifetime. It's who you were. It's where you came from. And most of us are like very much born into that energy when we enter this life. And I believe that it's because it's familiar to us. So as soon as we are, we go from the higher realms and then we like come down, we're born into our physical body. We're like, oh my gosh, like I'm here on earth. This is really dense. What am I going to do? What am I going to be? And boom, we're like, I know what's familiar. It's my South Node energy. So I'll be that. And so we be that, like we become that, like when we're little. And most astrologers would say that we spend our childhood in that South Node energy, and usually our parents actually encourage our South Node energy. So to use myself as an example, my South Node is in Virgo, and it's in the first house. And I was born to a mother who's a nurse, which is like the most stereotypical like Virgo profession, and she just served everyone and like worked so hard. And I was taught you work hard. And I was also taught like through various life circumstances, like you need to be self-sufficient and all these different things. And anyway, that energy was really brought out within me in my childhood. Goal setting, individual achievement, sports even, individual sports even, which are really first housey things, gymnastics, for example, all these things, okay? Anyway, but most astrologers would say that as you grow, and especially as you approach your Saturn return, you'll find that staying in that South Node energy, which will be the sign opposing your North Node, of course, then it starts to lead to stagnation. It starts to lead to a feeling of heaviness, a feeling of karma. You start to want to seek something new, but you might not know what it actually is. You just know that you're kind of doing your same old tricks and they're just not working for you anymore in the way that they used to. Does that make sense? And so for me, some ways that this manifested was when I was really little, I was really, really fulfilled by achievement, I would just go after all these goals and set them, and I just worked. And then as I started to approach my mid-20s, my 30s, I sort of was like, wow, I'm feeling, this is very weird because I've lived my whole life in the material world, building my resume, blah, blah. I'm starting to feel the call of spirit. I'm starting to feel the call of the invisible world. I'm wanting to cultivate my soul. I'm not wanting to be as productive anymore. And that, you guys, terrified me. And this is typical. Most of us are terrified by the energy of our North Node sign because a lot of us fear the unknown. And the North Node sign feels unknown. In reality, it's just not as recently known, but of course, all the signs live within us, and we can become the energy of any of these zodiac signs. They are all within us, you guys. You can be anything. It doesn't matter. Maybe you're a Taurus, but maybe you want to experience and merge with the energy of Scorpio and be that. You can, because in reality, you're not a Taurus. You're so much more than that. You're everything, okay? So have fun with this. So anyway, so the North Node sign, the biggest difference between North Node sign and North Node house is that the North Node sign is a generational aspect. So we're actually about to change North Node signs in the collective right now. For the past couple of years, all of us have been exploring the sign of Cancer together as a collective. And so babies that were born in 2020 and 2019 and 2018, all of those babies they'll have their North Node in Cancer. And so all these little kids that have been born during this time, throughout this lifetime, they're going to be growing into that Cancer energy. And a lot of them are going to have special destinies related to, building families and new communities here on the planet, and bringing in more love and bringing in more nurturance. Of course, we need all of this, and helping to restore the feminine aspect on the planet and things like this. And these souls that have just been born are coming from lifetimes where they worked hard, where they were captains of industry, where they had to take on a lot of responsibility, where they were in the Capricorn energy, if that makes sense. Okay, and a lot of them will be born with Saturn in Capricorn, right? Because Saturn was in Capricorn for most of them, and so you can see that expressed in all the charts of these little ones born over about the past 2.5 years, right? They're all going to have Saturn in Capricorn, so they're all going to have karma related to Capricorn, which makes sense because they were all exploring the Capricorn energy, which is their South Node, in their prior lifetimes, okay? So anyway, so your North Node sign is really important as a starting place, but it's important to understand that it is a general aspect. It's a generational aspect, similar to slow-moving planets like Saturn, Neptune, Uranus, or Pluto, where everyone born right around the same time is exploring that energy together. I think that this is good to know because it means that if we have friends, family members, like right around our same age, they'll probably have the same North Node sign, and we can sort of encourage each other, knowing that the North Node sign is an energy that we're meant to bring out within our field as a collective. So for me, a lot of my friends, a school-age friend, stuff like that, right? Like, we're all learning to let go. Yeah, actually, I was going to say we're all learning to let go of the Virgo energy, but actually, we're all just learning to let go in general, because that's kind of what Pisces is all about. Anyway, so, yes, so it's a generational shift. And usually when people first discover their North Node, then they will discover the North Node sign first. That's really typical. I feel like a lot of people first discover astrology through the Cafe Astrology website. I did, and that's where I first discovered my North Node sign. And that was like one of the happiest days of my whole life because I finally felt like I had permission to be what I always wanted to be secretly within myself. So if you're just starting and you're like, I don't know where to start, start by trying to be more of your North Node sign, okay? And I see this as, I mean, certainly you can do things that are affiliated with your North Node sign, but to me, that's not the way to go about approaching your North Node sign, although I honor all of you guys in whatever way you'd like to do it. But for me, the North Node is something it's a state of being. It's not like an action, right? So let's say, for example, that your South Node is in Taurus, right? So like actions affiliated with Taurus, right, might be, for example, going to a bank and like picking out which investments that you're gonna have, to build security for the future, or getting all dressed up and going to the restaurant with the 5-star rating and having like a most delicious, like 5-course dinner or something like that. So if you approach that like from the perspective of, okay, well, that's my South Node, so I used to do things like that. So let me just like do the things now that are Scorpio. Oh my gosh, first things that come to mind, I cannot say those things. Okay, so like you can do that if that's like what works really well for you. That might be like a starting place, but you could be like, okay, well, like, Taurus is about like building that security like for myself. And so, I'm going to do the opposite of that. So I'm going to do the Scorpio way, which is like about taking financial risks, right? So like instead of going and taking this money to the bank and picking out the most secure investments, like I'm going to go gambling, like, and then I'm going to achieve my North Node. Like you might, I mean, who knows? Like actually you might, but like what I would recommend more than that is taking time, right? And it does take time. Like, I feel like we first, like, we discover the North Node sign, and then we have to, like, integrate it intellectually, and then we bring it into our being, our state of being. And so, this is kind of hard to describe what would be the state of being of Scorpio. But I feel like actually for me, that's not hard to describe, but the Taurus is a little bit more. But so we're moving from like a Taurus state of being then, if that's your North Node, which might be like a real physical orientation, a real sensual orientation, really being in your body, all these things. And this is your aura, your North Node, South Node. Like when you're born, your South Node energy generally is going to fill your aura. Like I think it almost has more of an impact on us than even our sun sign. Okay, but that's a different topic. There's so much more I'll need to say about this. I can understand that now. Anyway, okay, so right. So we're moving from that sensual state of being that represents Taurus. And then the goal, if your North Node is Scorpio, because I know it is for a lot of you guys, or that you'll identify with that. So the Scorpio energy, then we're bringing in that connection to the ethereal. So our state of being becomes less oriented then from the physical and more oriented to the invisible realms, and we begin to fill our aura with a sense of mystery, with a sense of intrigue. And so that energy that introduces us when we walk in the room is no longer that energy, that strong, rooted, sensual Taurus energy. That no longer, the goal is for that no longer to introduce us, but for now suddenly, like for us to for our energy to speak in a Scorpio way. And then the actions affiliated with that will naturally flow from there, And so one thing that I think that could be, right, is we begin to blend and merge with other people, and we begin to orient, more deeply to the psychological side of life. And we're paying a lot less attention to who people are physically and a lot more attention to the spark that lies within, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So when it comes to trying to approach your North Node sign and achieve that, I actually would say anything at all that excites you in regards to your North Node sign and just experimenting with it, playing with it, understanding that in this lifetime, that's who you actually are. You are meant to become in your field in an embodied way on a cellular level that energy that is described by your North Node sign. Okay, does that make sense? So this is a state of becoming. Now for me, my North Node is at 4 degrees of Pisces in the 7th house, okay? And some days, like, I wake up, most days to be honest, like, I wake up and I am Virgo. But, like, very quickly I am like, no. Like, not anymore. Like, now is your lifetime to be your Pisces and, like, fill your field with the Pisces energies. And, like, then I just try to do that. And then I feel so much better. And I feel like when you embody, like, you let it fill your body, let it fill your field, like, your North Node, the energy of your North Node sign, it is like, you'll begin to feel almost like an electricity through you. You'll begin to feel like you're a magnet for your dreams. Like you'll begin to feel like, oh my gosh, this is who I was meant to be. This is amazing. Like, and when we're like embodying the energy of our South Node, we often, when we're young, it will feel comfortable. But as we get closer and closer to age 30, and certainly by the time we have finished our Saturn return, life is saying, become your North Node sign. Now is the time. Now is the time. And so, like, after the Saturn return, so if you're somebody who is like has their Saturn in Scorpio or their Saturn in Sagittarius or something like that, you're after your Saturn return now. And so you'll find like that life doesn't flow when you fill your field with the energy of your South Node. So when it comes to North Node sign and house, start with the sign and start with trying to, as best as you can, live in the energy of that sign. Like, think of it as like that's what you want to fill your aura with. And so as much as you can, like, try to feel, think, act like that sign. Almost even if you need to feel like you're an actor or something like that, that's okay. Like I said, any way that you approach the energy of that sign is going to be good for you, whatever works for you. But I think fundamentally, the North Node sign is about generational alchemy, and we are all together, the group of us born with that sign, we're bringing that in for the generation. And likely it's a generational mission, likely it's a generational mission. So perhaps those born within about 2 or 3 years of me, we have a generational mission related to serving from a spiritual place, right? Perhaps as opposed to a physical place, or a healing mission related to healing, no longer from that medical sense, but like where let's say maybe, for example, maybe many of us will actually bring in metaphysical healing, in order to balance like past lifetimes where we were doctors, nurses, or whatever. Who knows? Okay. I'm just saying. All right. So anyway, so that is the North Node sign. And if you are just starting, and you just need a single thing to focus on the sign first. Okay. All right. So now let's talk about the North Node house. So what is a house? Like, what is a house? What is a house in astrology? The houses are each of the little triangular pieces that are around your natal wheel. And again, to generate your chart in the whole sign house system, if you don't know how to do that, I'll link below where you can do that. You do need to know your birth time. If you use the whole sign house system as opposed to equal house or Placidus or whatever, if you don't know your exact birth time but you can get pretty close, you'll still get an accurate chart. Yay! Okay, anyway, so you want to look for the little symbol that looks like a horseshoe and see which of the little slices that it falls in your chart. And this is the house, and you can learn so much about all the astrological houses. Each one represents a different area of our life, okay? And there's 12 houses, and they are affiliated with the signs, but they're not the same thing, okay? For example, let's use mine for an example, okay? Okay, so my North Node is in Pisces, right? It's falling in the 7th house. And so the 7th house in astrology is affiliated with things that are partnerships in our lives that are sort of legally bound partnerships. So often people will call it like the house of marriage or things like that, but it can be, because that is one legal form of partnership, but it's more so affiliated with the house of one-on-one relationships, business partnerships, legality. This is different than somebody who has like a North Node in Libra or the sign of Libra, which is so much more than that. It's not my master, you guys, but like Libra, it's beauty, it's harmony, it's balance. And so is there an affiliation between the sign and house? Yes. Is it the same thing? No, it's not. So wherever your North Node falls, whichever house it falls in your chart, that is the area of life that you will grow through in this lifetime. And it's where you want to put a little bit of extra time, a little bit of extra attention. It's almost like each of the 12 houses like represent aspects of what it means to be a human having a life on Earth, and we can only put so much time in each area of life, so we have to make choices, right? Am I going to focus, most of my time on the 4th house, on my connection to my family, on building a beautiful home and strong foundations and love? Or am I going to focus most of my energy on the 10th house and building a legacy, a career identity, a public image? Like, it's difficult to do both, right? So anyway, you want, when it comes to the house placement, that is not generational, right? So remember how we just talked about the sign as being something where everyone born within that same 2 to 3 year period is going to have that sign. Together, you're working to become that sign and evolve through that experience and fill the planet with that sign's energy, right? When it comes to the North Node house, it is something where it's not necessarily about becoming that house. It's about actually stepping into that house. Do you know what I mean? So I think the house placement is more of a doing, whereas the sign placement is more of a state of being. So first you've got to get that state of being flowing, right? And this has been a lesson for me. So first of all, I have to become Pisces. I got to really be I've got to become that Pisces. And then once I've got that flowing, then I can start to begin to focus on making connections, one-on-one connections for love and business that are mutually supportive and harmonious and sharing and all these things, right? Then I can focus on plugging into and just really stepping into the North Node house. And these, like I said, the sign and house are not the same. So even if you have the Libra ascendant, that isn't really internally contradictive. So let's say that you have the Libra ascendant and your North Node is in Taurus, so as a state of being, you are trying to be a being who feels confident and self-sufficient and abundant and who is oriented here in the physical and all these things, but then it's falling in the 8th house. That's okay. Those things are not opposite, because what it means is you are going to become that Taurus energy, and then you're going to walk into, God bless you, the 8th house, So the area of life that you're going to focus on is transformative experiences, life and death, psychology, but you're going to do it as a Taurus. You're going to do it from a Taurus way. You're going to do it without losing your self-worth. You're going to remain grounded while you do it. You're going to release all the patterns of manipulation while you do it. You're going to stay in your body while you do it, right? All these different things. So that's just one example. And I'm going to make a video specifically for Libra Ascendant where I'm going to talk about every single North Node sign and when it falls in the opposing house and what it means. But that's coming later. But the thing to take into account is that when it comes to the house placement, you had an undue focus on the opposing house in your prior lifetime or childhood. So sometimes it can be helpful to study the opposing house. It can help you understand the house area of your chart that you are to place extra time and attention on in this lifetime. So for my own example, right, I said my North Node's in Pisces, 4 degrees in the 7th house. Okay, so in past lives, I spent an undue influence amount of time, on the first house matters, right? So I experienced myself through the first house in prior incarnations and earlier in this lifetime. So I put a lot of time and investment into understanding myself and who I was, and physical pursuits and fitness and just focusing on me and knowing who I was, right? That is what the first house is all about. It is the house of I am. And so now to balance that, like I lost touch a little bit with what it means to have balanced one-on-one relationships with other people. And so in this lifetime, even though for me it would be extremely and remarkably easy to just go off on my own and do whatever I want, I do not fear being alone. Quite the opposite. And just pursue a life of my dreams as an individual and work really, really hard, and that'd be my comfort zone for my South Node. But to achieve my destiny, so many chose, I've got to no longer focus on the I am, the first house. I need to gently, step into the 7th house, the we are house, the what happens when we make an agreement together and we pursue shared goals. How does that lead to a creation that's much more than what would have been had I birthed something just on my own, right? So that's kind of the house exploration. It says, and most people won't really like this at first. In general, most people don't really like pursuing their North Node house. Most people are really attached to the area of life that represents their South Node. But things will get really exciting when you embrace that you're here for the area of life that is dictated by your house placement of your North Node. Okay, so for example, one that I see a lot, within my own clients, because by the way, I am a psychic, right? Okay, so anyway, one that I see a lot from my clients is they have their South Node in the 12th house. So they're coming from lifetimes where, for whatever reason, they were retreating. So maybe they were monks, or maybe they had an illness and they were hospitalized, but they were experiencing being apart from society. They were experiencing the feeling invisible, right? And that's what kind of a little bit about the 12th house. That's what they were experiencing. Now in this lifetime, they're here for 6th house matters. They're here to work. They're here to be a part of the daily grind. And a lot of times these people are like, I don't want to do that. I want to go on my mountaintop and I want to meditate and all of these things. And yet, to achieve their destiny, they've got to decide, I'm going to actually step into the 6th house, and I'm going to live my life there. And once they do that, things start working, things start flowing, they start to build confidence, all of that kind of stuff. So again, to summarize, you want to start by cultivating your North Node sign as a state of beingness. And this is a creative process. There's not really a step-by-step guide that I can give you to doing this, but you'll find your way, and it'll be great. So start to become the energy of that sign and encourage others who also have that you went to school with and stuff too, to start to become that, because it's a generational project. You can't do it all on your own, but you're a piece of the puzzle. Once you've got that going, once you've got that flowing, step into the house where your North Node falls and start to focus on that area of life. Have the courage. It's going to feel weird at first. It's not going to feel supernatural. Well, it might feel supernatural, but it's not going to feel super natural. You know what I mean? So anyway, so you just step in that area of life and decide that you're going to flow with the universe and you're going to explore that area of life, So for me, it might look like, a business collaboration or something like that. I'm so much more comfortable doing my work on my own, Virgo in the 1st house and stuff like that. But what will actually expand my destiny in this lifetime is probably going to be more so collaborative works with other people, where we make a contract together and we share and we find this wonderful balance together and all these things, okay? And so I'm, embracing that. I'm going to step into that house and not be afraid and know that I'm here for that and know that it's going to grow my soul. And I encourage you to do the same. I encourage you to do the same with your own house placement. live your life in that arena. Live your life in that arena. And if you can maintain the being an energy that is your North Node sign, while stepping in to the area of life dictated by your North Node house, then you've done it. And congratulations! And if you are a Libra ascendant and your North Node sign and house are opposing, you know, it's just, to me, it's like an indication that you're like a guru, because I think that balance is actually achieving balance within is one of the greatest things that we can hope for on our spiritual journey. So if you've got your North Node falling in its opposing house, you're going to find that. You're going to find that balance. You're going to find that. It's almost like this. It's like you can be these opposing things at once. It's like something that just came and popped into my mind is like, what if you were going to be like an undercover police officer or something like that? And so maybe you're going to be actually super in integrity. You're going to be actually super grounded. You're going to actually be really solidly focused. Like, and maybe that's going to be Taurus-like in a way. But then you're going to like actually go into like all these Scorpio areas because you're undercover, right? And so you're going to be pretending to be that prostitute or whatever, or that pimp or that drug dealer or stuff like that. But actually you're completely solid. You are not at all what you seem to be, but you're stepping into that house area because, you know, you are actually, you know, your North Node's in the 8th house or whatever, but it's in Taurus. Like, you're stepping into that house area, right? Or maybe, you know, you are actually, like, going to earn great abundance and build wealth for yourself. Maybe it's going to be a Taurus thing, but you're going to do it by selling caskets, you know? So, like, you're going to be dealing with, like, matters of life and death every single day. Okay, because you're stepping into that 8th house, you know, and there's so many other ways that this can manifest, which I'll talk about, like I said, in an upcoming video or video series. You guys, I haven't decided yet. Let me know in the comments below what you want. Do you want one video for Libra Ascendant where I do my best to talk about the sign and house combinations for all the opposing sign and houses? Or do you want me to actually go through and make 12 detailed videos, even though that would take longer for all of you with a Libra Ascendant? Let me know what you prefer. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being part of the Maya's Dream community. And thank you for being interested in my astrology content. I see that this is what you guys want to hear about. So I guess I'll just do it and start making more. Because my job with my North Node is to let people come to me and be open to their ideas. Okay, so we're going to do that. So anyway, have a great day. Many blessings to all of you beautiful souls. And namaste.